One of the things revealed in the 48th Identity 5 Q&A session is that gardener, Emma Woods, will be getting her own one-series skin sometime in the future. For Emma fans, this is huge. We'll finally get to learn more about her story and her past. Plus, it'll be really satisfying to see what her life might have been like if she never went to the manor, right? The Once Skin series shows the what-if versions of characters, basically what their lives could have been if they hadn't accepted the manor's invitation, or if things had turned out differently for them. So naturally, that makes us wonder, what would Emma's life look like if she never went to the manor at all? Would she be living peacefully with her parents? Or maybe working happily as a florist, finally letting go of her past that haunted her? That's exactly what we're diving into today, our speculation on Emma's Once Skin. But before we get into that, we'll take a quick look back at her backstory to refresh everyone's memory. Don't worry, it's not a deep dive, just a quick refresher. As one of the earliest characters introduced in the game, Emma's backstory is often seen as one of the most complete and emotionally grounded in Identity 5. There are plenty of clues hidden in the lore that help define who she truly is. At its core, her story revolves around trauma and resentment, and it's not hard to see why. Born Lisa Beck in Devon on the 21st of December 1876, Emma was the only daughter of Leo Beck, a textile factory owner, and his wife, Martha Beck. Life should have been peaceful for young Lisa, especially since her father was known to be a loving and caring man. In Leo's 6th letter, as well as his once-series skin, you can see how deeply he cared for his daughter and his family. Even when his textile factory began to struggle financially, Leo refused to accept help from Martha, especially after learning she was pregnant, even when Martha showed talent in marketing and proposed ideas for the factory. Hints suggest that part of this was because he deeply cared for Martha's well-being, but another part was also his firm belief that it was a man's duty to provide for his family, no matter how difficult things became. While that mindset might seem old-fashioned or overly traditional today, it reflected the Victorian-era ideals of masculinity and responsibility that Leo lived by. He genuinely wanted to be a good husband and father, and that's what he tried his best to be. From Leo's first letter, we learned that Leo and Martha often argued about how the factory was being run. When paired with the clues from his once skin, it's implied that Martha had grown frustrated with Leo's tendency to handle everything on his own, dismissing her input on business decisions. These constant arguments took a heavy toll on their daughter, young Lisa, who forced herself to stay cheerful and keep smiling, even as she silently watched her family fall apart. In an attempt to save his failing business, Leo hired a man named Freddie Riley as a financial advisor. On the surface, Freddie seemed hardworking and trustworthy, but beneath that facade, he was cunning and manipulative. After meeting Martha, Freddie quickly became infatuated with her and began pursuing her in secret. With her marriage already strained, Martha eventually gave in to his advances. Leo, trusting by nature, didn't suspect a thing. He even saw Freddie as more than just a colleague. He treated him as a friend, even inviting him to Lisa's birthday celebration. But Freddie's obsession with Martha only deepened. To get what he wanted, he tricked Leo into investing in a weapons factory called Minerva, conveniently leaving out that the business was drowning in debt. The investment bankrupted Leo, creating an even deeper rift between him and Martha. After one final argument over the factory, Martha decided to leave Leo for Freddie, abandoning him to deal with the financial ruin alone. Despite everything, Leo tried his best to be a good father to Lisa. But as the debts piled up, he was forced to work longer hours, spending less and less time with her. Even so, Lisa kept smiling, not out of joy, but as a way to protect herself from the emotional pain. Leo, realizing how distant he had become, started bringing Lisa to the factory so he could keep an eye on her while working. He was never cruel to her, Even when he lost his temper once after she wandered too close to a dangerous machine, he quickly apologized, realizing that his own neglect had caused her loneliness. Eventually, Leo made a heartbreaking decision. Unable to provide Lisa with the care she needed, he sent her to an orphanage run by the church. But that didn't stop his downward spiral. He began drinking, selling off his belongings to pay the debt, and still tried to visit Lisa whenever he could. He'd hand whatever little money he had to the priests, though it's hinted that some of that money never actually reached Lisa. When Leo finally realized that all his efforts were in vain, he reached a tragic conclusion. He would burn down the factory, with himself inside it. The factory was insured, and he named Lisa as the beneficiary, hoping she could at least have a future, even if he couldn't be part of it. Leo set the factory ablaze, intending to die with it. But as we know, he survived the fire, though that's a story for another time. For now, our focus remains on Lisa, the girl who would later be known as Emma Woods. Now, completely alone, Lisa struggled to adjust to life in the orphanage. She hated it very much, to the point that she eventually tried to escape. Unfortunately, she was caught by one of the church's enforcers, Creature Pearson, and dragged back to the orphanage. From that moment, she grew to resent him deeply. Even before that, Lisa already harbored hatred toward Freddie Riley, blaming him for destroying her family and taking her mother away. Things became even worse when the orphanage was later converted into an asylum, where cruel and illegal human experiments were conducted. Lisa herself became one of the test subjects, forced to undergo electroshock therapy under the supervision of a doctor named Lydia Jones. For years, Lisa's life was filled with sorrow and pain until one day in October 1893, a mysterious novelist visited the asylum. For reasons still unclear, he cleverly helped her escape. Finally free, Lisa fled from Devon to Somerset, where she took on a new name, Emma Woods, inspired by Emma Woodhouse, the protagonist of Jane Austen's novel Emma. In Somerset, Emma opened a small flower shop and tried to rebuild her life. On the surface, it seemed peaceful. A fresh start surrounded by beauty and growth. But inside, she was still haunted by her past. Her 6th letter reveals that she couldn't let go of her resentment toward those who had wronged her. Even Game 4, the game of the burning scarecrow, symbolized her attempt to bury those lingering emotions once, and, for all, a desperate ritual to release her anger and grief. There were 3 people Emma sought vengeance against: Freddie Riley, the man who ruined her family, Creature Pearson, who crushed her attempts to escape, and Lydia Jones, now known as Emily Dyer. In her final days in Somerset, neighbors described Emma as unusually cheerful, almost too cheerful, as if she were preparing for a grand celebration. But soon after, her flower shop was mysteriously closed, and Emma Woods vanished without a trace. Records later show that she arrived at the elitist manor on July 1899, where her story in the manor would begin. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the Once Skin series explores alternate versions of each character, stories that imagine what their lives might have been like if they had never gone to the manor, or if key events had turned out differently. So far, 17 characters have received their Once Skins, with Cowboy set to be the next one in December. As for Gardener, Emma Woods, her Once Skin has been confirmed but does not yet have an official release date. While the Once Skins showcase each character's what-if scenario, their deeper meaning goes far beyond simple alternate timelines. Many of these skins represent a moment of choice, a critical turning point, where the character could either continue down a tragic path or make a decision that leads to growth, redemption, or peace. For example, Burke's Once Skin imagines what would have happened if he had accepted the architecture position at the art school, instead of taking the construction job that eventually tied him to the manor. Emily's once skin, on the other hand, shows what her life might have been like if she had remained loyal to her medical oath, choosing not to engage in illegal practices. Both examples highlight one key theme: the power of choice. Each once skin represents a pivotal decision that alters the course of a character's destiny. Burke choosing a path of creativity and stability, Emily choosing integrity and compassion. Now, it brings us to Emma Woods. What kind of choice would she have made to change the trajectory of her life? What decision could have freed her from the resentment and pain that defined her story? Several days ago, I discussed this topic with a fellow lore enthusiast on Discord, and from that conversation, we came up with two possible scenarios for Emma's alternate life. Of course, these are all speculations, but both offer interesting possibilities for what her once skin might represent. The first scenario is what I'd call the happy ending. In this version, Emma's once skin would show her living a peaceful and fulfilling life alongside her father. In this universe, her parents never separate. Leo isn't tricked by Freddy into the disastrous weapons factory investment, and instead, he continues running the textile business with Martha's help. Together, they rebuild and even find success, strengthening their family bond in the process. It's a heartwarming vision, and one that fits the idea of a what could have been story. But, in a sense, this version has already been told. It's essentially Leo Beck's once skin. In that story, Leo is the one who makes the crucial choice to change his fate, to open his heart, and to preserve his family. So, while Emma would share in that happy outcome, the one who truly changes the trajectory of life here is Leo, not Emma herself. That brings me to the second scenario, which I personally find more meaningful. A version where Emma finally finds peace on her own terms. In this world, after escaping the asylum and settling in Somerset, she opens her flower shop and chooses to forgive those who wronged her. From my own experience, forgiveness is a long and painful process. When the people who hurt you have left wounds that never fully heal, forgiveness can feel impossible. Yet, it's not something beyond reach. It's something that takes time, strength, and acceptance. That's what I imagine for Emma in this version. A universe where she chooses not vengeance, but atonement, not anger, but release. It would be a beautiful and emotional story, one that feels true to who Emma is beneath all her pain. Because in the main timeline, Emma's decision to go to the manor stems from resentment and trauma. But in this alternate path, her once skin could show us what happens when she makes a different choice, when she chooses forgiveness over revenge. Of course, this is just my interpretation. Ultimately, it's up to Netties to decide how Emma's story will unfold. Until then, all we can do is wait and see what kind of future or alternate past they've written for her. Now, let's say the second scenario is the one Netties decides to go with for Emma's once skin. Let's take a moment to imagine what her visual design might look like. I'll be honest, I'm no fashion expert, so to get an idea, I looked up several examples of gardener outfits from the late 19th century, which is roughly the era Emma lived in. There's a good chance her once skin would draw inspiration from that style. Simple, practical, but elegant in its own way. What I really want to focus on, though, is the theme behind her look. Personally, I envision her in a white color scheme, possibly drawing inspiration from either the peace lily or the white rose. Both of these flowers hold very similar meanings of peace, innocence, purity, and new beginnings. The peace lily, in particular, is often seen as a symbol of calmness and rebirth, while the white rose represents forgiveness and a fresh start. So, in this alternate universe, instead of growing the haunting Miss Wilmot's ghost flower, Emma would be tending to lilies or white roses, flowers that reflect her emotional healing and her choice to finally let go of resentment. Though, whether her once story turns out peaceful, bittersweet, or something else entirely, one thing feels certain. Emma's once skin will give us a glimpse of the life she truly deserved. I'm not sure if there are more directions her story could take, but what about you? What do you think Emma's once skin might look like? Do you imagine something similar, or do you have a completely different idea? Feel free to share your thoughts down in the comments. I'd love to hear your take on it. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, see you next time.